Imagine a law written way back in 1908 that's still one of the most powerful and important pieces of legislation in India today. We're talking about the Explosive Substances Act. So today, we're going to dive in and break down what it actually says, why it has so much teeth, and how it continues to shape national security a century later.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we'll get into the history of this act. Then, and this is crucial, we'll unpack the surprisingly broad definition of an explosive. From there, we'll look at how the law punishes not just the action, but also the intent behind it. We'll also see how it treats accomplices. And finally, we'll touch on a unique rule that gives the government the last word.
So let's set the scene. The year is 1908, June 8th to be exact. India is under British rule. The goal back then was pretty straightforward. Create a really strong legal tool to stop and punish anyone using explosives to threaten public safety or the state itself.
What's amazing is how this law has endured. After 1950, it was officially adopted to cover all of India. But here's the part that's really wild. Its power doesn't stop at the country's borders. This law applies to any Indian citizen anywhere in the world. Think about that for a second. It has a truly global reach. Okay, so this brings us right to the heart of the matter. To really get why this law is so potent, you have to ask one simple question. What does it actually count as an explosive substance? And believe me, the answer is way broader than you'd probably guess.
The real magic, or maybe the real power, is in the wording here. The law doesn't just give you a list of things like dynamite. No, it says the term is deemed to include other items. That little phrase, deemed to include, blows the definition wide open and gives the law incredible flexibility. So, what does that mean in practice? It means a crime isn't just having a finished bomb. It's having the ingredients, the recipe. It's having the tools to put it together, the toolbox. It's even having a single tiny part of that toolbox. The law is basically designed to catch anyone at any stage of the process.
So with that super broad definition in our back pocket, let's look at the most direct crime covered by the Act. This is Section 3, and it deals with what happens when someone unlawfully and maliciously actually sets off an explosion.
Now pay close attention to the wording here. Likely to endanger life or property. That word likely is doing a ton of heavy lifting. It means it doesn't matter if anyone actually got hurt or if a single thing was damaged. The malicious act itself, the creation of that danger, is the crime. It's all about the potential for harm.
Right, that's the perfect question. Because this is where the act gets really proactive. And the answer? Oh yeah, a big, resounding yes. You see, this law isn't just about reacting to disasters. It's designed to stop them before they ever happen by going after the intent.
And this is what makes this law so different. Sections 4 and 5 are all about punishing attempts, conspiracies, and even just having something in your possession, if the whole situation looks sketchy. It's about stopping, as the slide says, the crime before the crime.
This quote from the Act is so important. It says if you're found with an explosive substance under suspicious circumstances, the whole script flips. The burden of proof is now on you. You have to prove you had it for a lawful object. The law basically says, this looks bad, now convince us it's not. And right here, you can see how it all stacks up. Causing an actual explosion? That's the most serious, obviously. But look how close the others are. Trying to cause one? Or just having the materials with intent? That's up to 20 years. Even just possessing something under suspicious circumstances without a good explanation can get you 14 years.
But the law doesn't stop there. It's not just focused on the person with their hands on the device. Section 6 casts a much wider net, and it's aimed at anyone who helps, supports, or enables the main offender in any way. And just look at how broad the definition of helping or abetting is. Giving money? Okay, that makes sense. Providing a place to work, like a garage? That's on the list. Supplying materials? For sure. But even just giving advice or counsel? Yep, that's covered too. Any kind of knowing support makes you an accomplice. And here's the real kicker. This is what makes Section 6 so unbelievably powerful. There's no lesser charge for being a helper. The punishment is exactly the same as it is for the person who actually commits the crime. Under this law, helping is doing, period.
So you might be thinking, wow, a law this severe, this broad, are there any checks and balances at all? And the answer is yes. There's one really big safeguard built right into the procedure of the Act in Section 7.
This is a huge deal.
It means that while the police can investigate and make an arrest, a court can't even start a trial until the central government itself gives the green light. It's a high-level review, making sure that this incredibly potent law is being applied thoughtfully and isn't being misused.
And all of this leaves us with one final big question to think about. This law was born in a totally different era, and it gives the state enormous power to act before a threat becomes a reality. It clearly prioritizes security. So the question for us today is, how does a law like this fit into the 21st century? And what does it tell us about that constant, delicate balancing act between keeping a nation safe and protecting the rights of the individual?